the starting question. Now that it's already five of us. So plans for the weekend here. Chuy, you want to start? Now that you just showed up.
Sure, Santi. To be honest, I think that I'm gonna stay home this weekend. Mexico City is a lot of fun during the weekends, even like through the whole pandemic. Like there's just like too many people, so there's always something to do. But I think I'll stay home this weekend. My girlfriend went on vacation, so probably I'll just watch a ton of movies and catch up with a lot of stuff from from TC actually. So yeah, it's just gonna be a quiet weekend for me. I'll
You're
pass
all
it to.
set. You're all set already in town.
Yeah, it's been I think like a week and a half since everything got settled and yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been really good, but uh, also like it's a matter of not letting like the big city get into you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I pass it to Ivy.
Thanks, Chewy. Wow, this is easier to do without the recorder. I can easily unmute myself. We have plans for the weekend. No, nothing's really special. I'm just gonna read a book at the beach. It's really good to read something like at the beach because I haven't done it the past days because we've been very busy. So yeah, that's the only plan for the weekend.
All right.
And I pass it to Zepti.
Thanks, Ivy. Yeah, I don't have like big plans. I probably be drafting the hatch. How we call it tree. The thing we want to write. The hatch text basically like the going to we have on the page. Like I'm going to draft it with Lauren and Manu, and then we will decide. And then yeah, keeping updated with the conflict that's happening. I feel like it's exciting. It's fun. Let's say like for me it is, but yeah, we have to make it work somehow. So yeah, I'll pass it to Chui.
No, Chuy is gone. Juanca. And Juanca, if you can just update me on the conflict. I'm completely out of that.
Well, I think that this weekend I might go visit a friend who lives near the beach. I haven't gone to the beach like
Mm.
2 months, so
We can tell by your face. You don't look too tan.
yeah. So I am going to go to the beach this weekend. And I feel that there is a channel for this forum, and it's precisely the forum. So you can like open the forum and you can read like the different positions, but it's around the results of the price distribution onto this.
It's a praise. Yeah, it's a praise issue. All right, all right. I didn't know if it was something new or it was about the praise. All right. Yeah, the praise impact hours. Good. All right. I'll close the round. It's probably gonna be a quiet weekend after 2 or 3 that's been a little bit of a rush. But on top of relaxing a little bit, starting a new project related to the movie that's going to be released next month. So we've closed an agreement with a production movie company that's producing five movies this year, and the big one, the most important one, is coming out in the summer. And they already asked us to help them release the collection of NFTs for them together with the movie. So before that one, we're going to be releasing a minor one, which is a thriller, and hopefully I will be able to share with you in a few weeks. So those are the plans for the weekend. Now, there was, again, for those that came late, we are done with the proposal's terms. We just need to add the parameters whenever we build them. Sean is not going to be able to join us today. He wasn't feeling too good. And on top of the terms for the proposals, we had the review of the rules on Discord. was open last week when Katie asked it to take a look at them from the legal working group. And I think since we're all here and they are quite short, maybe we can review them together. Let me share the screen with you guys, and I go and check them there. There we go. So those are the rules that apparently have been rewritten, or there might be some changes, and maybe we can just go together and go on a quick round, uh, and everyone can say what they think, if they believe there's something missing or there's something we should change.
Also, if there's extra time in this call, I would love to start discussing Params runoff.
Yeah, that's fine because we are almost done. Sean is not going to be able to make it today. He wasn't feeling too good. So I already thought that there's not too much content for today. I would suggest that after we go through this review, we can jump into Params.
Nice.
From my perspective, the only thing that I would add here, I think everything's fine, but the only thing I would add was that point that we were talking last week that we haven't had time to go over, which is maybe making a mention on anything posted here or on third-party channels from any member of the TEC is beyond the control of TEC, and so anyone knows, and that be it. Any other inputs from anyone?
Yes, Santi. The first two paragraphs. It just I don't know if it's me, but it would just make sense to switch them. Like to start with, we're glad to have you here. This Discord server is for everything, and then like stating the terms, like by looking at the check at the bottom. And yeah, I was gonna add probably in when it says utilizing the platform in which such meetings are being held. Uh, I would have added like these meetings may be recorded because like it just like throws it more like as in a disclaimer mode, and then later
But they
like it
already
picks up
that's
on
already mentioned. That's already
oh
mentioned on
yeah
the first paragraph.
yeah, but it picks up on okay, yeah, the recorded material. Yeah, I see. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Then just like probably just switching them like
Let's read
the
the
other
two paragraphs.
sense for me.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anything else, Juanca?
Hey, sorry. Uh,
Ivy?
yeah, I would also probably add here the our new website. Oh, it's there. Let's see, ecommons.org. Okay, it's there. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
see
Mm-hmm.
it. And this
I,
one,
I
yeah.
I would say that adding the calendar, we have the calendar in the tab that says schedule,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be good also to have that there.
Okay. Yeah, I also
Glossary.
see that there's the link for the meeting protocols, terms and disclaimers is there. So all we have to do is add there whatever we end up agreeing, and we shouldn't just add it here. If we post it in that link, that should be enough. Any other addition or comment here from you, Zepti or Griff?
Would make sense to add
I'm sorry.
Twitter.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, Twitter. Okay.
No, I mean, I think you guys just nailed it. The switching the paragraphs makes a lot of sense. Adding Twitter.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'll just fill in the issue from Katie, and we're good to go. All right. I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss from legal, or we give room to. Well, before we move forward and seeing, and now that you're also here, Griff, I've been since the amount of work on legal is starting to get smaller and smaller. I was thinking on maybe making it every other week instead of every week, and of course we always can jump into anything if it's needed and if it appears. But I will probably announce that meetings are going to start to be bi-weekly. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Just
makes
for
sense.
those before you join, before you move forward, for those who joined, we John is not able to be here with us today. He wasn't feeling good, and we've decided since the latest weeks we're almost done or getting ready done with legal stuff. We're going to be running bi-weekly meetings instead of weekly, and of course we'll leave the empty spaces or room to be able to jump in and discuss any legal issue that may arise if needed. All right, we are done, and we're going to leave Griff share with us all the whatever Params he wants to bring into the meeting now that we're here. All right. So all yours, Griff.
Cool. So I'll share screens here. There's well, actually, maybe I'll get this agenda doc, make sure that this is accessible. Yeah. Post it in legal. Actually, I'll post it in the parameters thing because parameters is just taking over anyway. We're taking over. Let's see, parameters runoff agenda. So we have some questions that for the community stewards call today. Do we the but I want to mostly like show off some data and talk about some options. Like I feel like we have a good opportunity to clean up the GitHub and the posts and make them a little bit easier to read instead and reordering them. And I would, this is how exactly we do that. I'd be really curious to hear people's thoughts. Like, what do we want at the top for people to read? Like we could put those there. Obviously, that one table that was like really tiny, it'd be nice to make it, actual markdown so you can read it, and then maybe remove like the non-redeemable column and this order column because they're not very useful, and really kick up these strategies. And I was thinking that would be like something that we would do for the final ones that we choose. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Like, also, like, do we meme? Do we let memes stay in there? Do we change the titles? Like, what do we present in these proposals, in the final runoff proposals?
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, Zepti.
I was just going to say, like, if it would be possible, I would like let the memes stay. I think they're fun, and they don't harm anyone.
Santi.
I would love to be able to go over all the information on the issues that make it to the final round, but I would also love to have sort of like a place where we can easily compare them. Like having a table where we see the params from if it's going to be 3 or 5 of them, so you can easily taking a look at one document. You can go deeply into each one of them to read everything and look all the information that the creators decided to put there. But if you just want to focus on the main difference between one and another, just taking a look at this table would give you pretty much idea of the main difference, be it minimum amount or hours, or what the main that that just like taking a look give you a sense of what's the main difference between one and the other.
I think Levi is working on this. I don't know how it's updated because like we are like everyone is super busy, but I know for sure like Levi was working on something like this, like already was looking super cool.
I like this idea of like we can make the Miro board that Livy's working on maybe even a little more like a voter pamphlet, you know? Like here's the 3 to 5 options that we have, and like here's how they rank on, you know, bias towards builders or bias towards backers. Here's how they rank on impact hour rate. Here's how they rate on rage quit percent and hatch tribute, and try to focus on allowing people to see the differences of the proposals as opposed to from a higher level, as opposed to looking at one proposal and what it does and then making them do the comparison in their head. So I think that's a really good
I don't know, Griff, I don't know if that would add an extra amount of work, but sometimes you look at when you're comparing, you look at 2 or 3 different options and you say rage quit. This one, I don't know, this amount, this one is another. And you may see a big difference, but sometimes it's good to put context. And let's say we raise this amount of money, rage quitting 2% difference at the end of the day is $2,000 or $3,000. You know, it's not the end of the day, because sometimes it may seem that the 5% of the difference may be a big amount of money or maybe have a big impact, but you know, trying to put the perspective of what that exactly means would make life easier when you're about to choose, because you may say, okay, I don't like this rage quit too high. I'm discarding this option, and like $500, you know, it's not the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great move, honestly. Anyone else have any comments on improving the actual, like what the actual proposal looks like? Feel free to, go ahead. Yeah, Tam.
I know I'm just repeating myself, but I really think the most important part is the description. Like accurately reflecting the description and what the results will be in like a paragraph for each one.
We're definitely gonna have to do that. Septimus didn't even make a hat strategy in his one. What the hell?
I was thinking, Griff, I don't know about this idea, but would it be interesting to have a session where the top 3 or the top 5 that are being voted can be presented by their authors and stating their arguments? So anyone who wants can join that meeting or that call and listen to the, you know, why they decided, what was behind their, you know, their thoughts when they were writing that.
Well, that brings up another point, is do we want to have the authorship be like on the forefront, or like the MVV, we took it away and made it kind of just like, oh, it's anonymous.
Personally, I like the anonymous thing. It brings more legitimacy, like to the vote. I don't know, like I'm not voting for this person, I'm voting for this Params.
Yeah. So like what I could see is somebody going through and maybe presenting each of them as like,
maybe someone that's not the author presenting them, because then it talks about, because some people may not really understand, you know, the meaning of every single one of those params and the consequences or the outcome, and so maybe someone that's not involved in the is not one of the one of we're voting, not the creator of one of those, can, you know, give a little explanation and maybe, you know, making these points that, okay, this may seem a big difference in rage quit, but you have to keep in mind that this is not that much, or this is a lot, you know, those kind of things.
Yeah, we could even do like a video guide. Like if I could propose all of these things and try to be not biased and discuss the strategy that each one is doing and the differences between them. Like maybe first start with like, this is the strategy of this one, this is the strategy of that one, this is the strategy of that one, this is the strategy of that one. and then like here's the differences. If you really like a high rage quit, this is your guy. If you like a high hatch tribute, well, these two both have pretty high hatch tributes. This and then but I also really like debates. I think it is kind of fun to have like one person say this is like have it be political, and have different people say this is what I'm voting for and I stand behind it. I don't know, that's also an option, like political or apolitical.
I like to be political. It's more fun, and also raises more consensus because people is explaining what's the thinking behind.
Cool. Well, those are just some thoughts to start seeding it in your minds, and we'll discuss it more later today. I also want to show off this spreadsheet. Ivy, major praise to Ivy for helping put in all of this data. We have all of the proposals here in their data, so it will be easy to play with. Here's the proposals ranked by how many votes they got. So this is like the top 3. There's kind of a big drop off between Easy Like a Sunday Morning and Crystal Ball Fork. So these 3, I feel like, I mean, for sure the top 2 and probably the top 3 because of this drop off should probably just be submitted as those 3. Also, I was looking at this data, and many of the proposals were jokes. Like if you look at Vote for My Params, he had basically like a flat thing where the target goal was the impact hour rate. I don't know, and he had a 51% of support required. He had some outliers, right? 100 for the toll gate fee. So he had some outliers. He may have been designing. This is actually Deckens, and he's like from the DAO House community. Like, oh, this is how I would create my Moloch period, and not thinking about the context of Commons upgrade and stuff like that. And then, so a lot of these at the bottom, I think maybe we should just cut off because they have a lot of outliers in them, or they also received a lot of votes. And so I did like averages, weighted average based off like the tokens, so like the number of votes, and you get some weird numbers like if you just do an average and you include some of those ones at the bottom, you get some really weird numbers, and I don't think it's necessarily indicative of what the community was voting on. And even when it's weighted, you get some weird numbers. So yeah. So that's just this spreadsheet. Oh, and actually at the top, I did just a quick analysis of like of the top 3, like, was there a range of choices, for each parameter? So for target goal, we had 1 to 3 million. There's no big target goal as an option. For max goal, there was no small max goal. They're all about medium to high. There's no big minimum goal. It's like, hey, we fail if we there's just high, low and medium. Looking at the impact hour rates, the top 3 all have, so Easy Like a Sunday Morning is very biased, or not very, but more biased towards the impact hours people, the builders. I would say Zepti and 8 are both kind of middle of the road, but there were many proposals that were way harder on the total supply given to builders. So we could probably use one of those to get mixed. The membership ratio has a good spread. Like, I think we have diversity there. They all had the exact same hatch period, 28. There's no, for the hatch minting rate, 1 was by far the most common option, but it's not represented in the proposals. There's no small hatch tribute, Chewy 1, apparently. They're all medium they're all medium. So we found everyone wanted to just be, settle in and say, oh, it's okay. Chewy, the tributers and the rage quitters are both right. And then they all have high support required, but that's okay. Like the average support required was 80, weighted average was 82. So like it's probably fine. Minimum quorum has a nice spread, 4, 8, and 10. No giant minimum quorums, but there weren't very many giant minimum quorums. Again, the weighted average is right in the middle. There's no long vote options. It's either 3 or 4 days. The vote buffer time was all the same. There was either 1 or 2 days for rage quits, and the tollgate fee has a nice spread. So like you can see some of these have like there's some gaps in these 3 proposals that we may want to fill with our choice of other. And then here you can see the tables of I removed the non-redeemable column and the first column that's just a number 0 to 1 or 0 to 37. And then here's their numbers. And I assume that when we have like maybe we whittle it down to like 3 or 4 other choices that we want to include, then we make their tables here and try to make a decent spread of options for these outputs, because I do feel like this table is probably the most indicative and most important piece that we need diversity with. And then the last thing I actually didn't finish because I kind of was thinking that maybe this is just boring, or not boring, but the original thought was that we'd use this runoff time to discuss okay, so this was forked off of that. Did they steal votes from each other? And I do think there's a little bit of stealing votes from each other, but not really so much. Or also, I don't know how much I don't know exactly. I was using GitHub to compare them, but I feel like maybe they need to be compared more like Mount Manu did, where it's okay, how many of these things have the same parameters, and kind of give each one do more data analysis than I think we're going to do on which ones of these were similar and had similar outputs or similar thing, and then kind of give a weight to similar choices. But it's hard to say. So I started doing this fork analysis, but some of these forks were very different than each other. Oh yeah, this was a fork of this, and I changed every parameter, and some of them were oh, I changed one parameter. Durgadas really forked Zeptes and changed just tweaked 2 parameters, So he really did. These votes basically are votes for Zeptes, But Goldilocks v4, for instance, is inspired by 8, inspired by Goldilocks, inspired by Crystal Ball. But I don't know if that really counts, And then how do we even connect those things? I just kind of was okay, I'm creating data, but I don't know how useful it is. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can just do a round of sense making, and I would like to just hear people's thoughts on how we should go about picking the last thing, and if there's any work that can be done on the spreadsheet or work that should be done before our call today that would be helpful for us trying to make the final decision of what proposals we put out to the community. I'll pass it to Chewy.
So it's about like the best way to present it, right?
No, about like how do we, this is more about how do we choose the 3 to 5 proposals that go to the community. It's just like, is there anything that you want to comment? You can pass it if you're like, I don't know, man.
Because of I would have agreed on having the first 5, but because of what you're mentioning about how they are like related in a way, uh, I I would say like let's go for the top 3, but yeah, I guess it's a matter of checking like the temperature, uh, but yeah, maybe crystal ball fork, but mm, yeah, I think the top 3 are just like an on spot. Mm. I'll pass it to Craig.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for all the work, Griff. I haven't had a chance to look at the spreadsheet, but and I only came in about halfway through. So, but I think like Chewy, I don't have a, my brain is just not wrapped around anything yet. So I'll pass it while I'm thinking to Santi.
Thank you, Craig. I think you guys done a wonderful job with the spreadsheet and trying to visualize those proposals that are not worth taking a look because they were not representative, like the bottom ones, and just focusing on the top 3 and then having a deeper analysis on the top 3. Actually, since I'm one of the whales, I didn't want to participate putting a proposal because I didn't want to, be skewed on that. And I tried to be fair. I was waiting till almost the very last minute to start voting, even then I waited a little bit to see how the votes started moving before finalizing my voting power. To me, focusing on the top 3 is probably the wisest way to move forward, and trying to visualize the main difference between them. Because if there's things that they don't make too much difference, it's it doesn't make too much sense. It's good to know, everyone has to know what that parameter means, but trying to focus on the main, okay, this one is leading to more or less this type of outcome, and this one is going to this one, and having producing that video or having a session where someone that's not created them 3 like you, Grief, or can explain more or less what the outcome could be with a parameter from this proposal or a parameter set from this other, and what are the main difference between them. I think that's an awesome way to, even for those that don't want to go deeply into the proposals or those that don't really understand some of the parameters, just listening or looking at that video or joining that that call, it's a fantastic way to give them a chance to vote wisely and get involved in the process. So from all the data, sometimes if we get a lot of information, we get too deep into the information and we forgot to see the forest. And to me, trying to focus on those things that are really different and make a real difference, although most of the parameters are different, but if there is slight differences, it shouldn't be relevant to waste too much time on there. And that to me, that would be what I would love. So anyone that, even people who's come late or joined the TC, not from a few weeks ago, and it's not been on the process and might be a little confused of some of these parameters, having an explanation on that, it would be great. That's my point here. I think I'll pass it to Tam.
Thanks, Santi. Yeah. I guess the first thought I have is like, I'm not convinced we should not include number 4 because there are some, the mint rating. Okay, that's not very important maybe, but it seemed like there are some, the toll gate fee, there are some differences that 4 stand out between 1, 2, and 3. I think that there's enough similarity that maybe it'll be worth including, but I think we can look at that later too. And then I'd say if the objective is to make it as easy as possible for people who are going to have 30 minutes to an hour to come and look at 3 things to have an informed vote on them. I would say that I'm going to repeat myself, but I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. There's 2 important things. The first is a really good description of each of, like, that standalone description for each one of what the strategy is and what the implications are of the choices of that strategy. Like, you know, not the data, but like description of the data, so that people don't have to look at the numbers and try to figure out what this means. What does 80 mean for impact hour rate with the slope of 200? And so just to say, and what it means is impact hour rate is this. And then the second thing is maybe like a table that just says all of the parameters and describes like what the result is for each of those choices. So the target goal, and then, you know, choice A, choice B, choice C. With this target goal, these are the, you know, possible expected outcomes for choice A, for choice B, for choice C. The same thing with, you know, hatch minting, just just describing what the outcome is because of that choice. And then I think we should start to changing the names, like anonymizing it now instead of 8's table, ZEP. And I think we should maybe like just start calling it A, B, and C, or whatever we want to call it, you know, pancake and donut and ice cream cone. But yeah, and even in our session tonight, maybe we can just totally start getting rid of the association with the previous ones. And then I think the goal should be to make it as easily comprehensible as possible to the people voting for it. And those are just the original, the knee-jerk thinking I have around it. I'll pass to Ivy.
Thanks, Sam. When I'm comparing the parameters, I think it also makes more sense to me to keep this only 3 proposals, because there are enough similarities and enough differences, so it's easier to compare, and and we don't have to check parameters one by one, and just have like a bigger context, like what the others have said, and like create maybe it's better to also have a sample scenario for each proposal, so it's easier to understand the outcome of these numbers, because it's for example, for me, it's hard to digest these numbers until Tam gave me a scenario what would happen if this number we have this number for this parameter. So yeah, I think it would be great to have like just a short scenario for the outcome of each of this parameter. So that's all for me. And
Just to understand, Ivy, were you saying that we should probably just do 3 proposals?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because these top 3 proposals have enough similarities and enough differences to compare them. And
I'll go after finish. I just want to add one thing after.
Okay. I pass it to one. Okay, one.
Can I just add one thing? Because I think it's a really good point, Ivy. And in fact, it's really that, now I'm looking at it, it's really the hatch tribute of number 4 that is really lower than the rest. And I think that's sort of the one that made me think, oh, it's interesting to have one with a very low hatch tribute. Sorry, Juan, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah. Well, I think that for this runoff, it would be good to do the same that we did for the BV runoff, and this to post from a neutral, so I can post them if like no one complains or have anything to say like against it. I can post them, the 3 proposals, and I think I have like several topics to like see this thing, and I see that one thing that it makes this information harder to understand is quadratic voting and not like one-on-one vote, because like Tam said that she like put all her voting power to her proposal, and maybe there were people that spread their voting power, and like that makes that only like one people like putting a lot of their voting power may like may have shown their proposal on the top, but more for one people like supporting it a lot rather than a lot of multiple support for several. So yeah, I think that's a thing that makes this a little difficult to see. And the other thing is that for me, I have this concept of like credibly neutral criteria, and I think that it's good that we don't say like, hey, I chose these parameters because I like them, but or because that's like my subjective way of seeing them, but rather like having an external reference point to what we can claim of, and we can say, hey, why did you choose your parameters? And it's not like, yeah, because I wanted so, but we can have like this external reference to say like, okay, this was my guiding principle. That's what I mostly like about 8. And it's like, hey, what is your sense making? No, our sense making, our principle, our like reference is this number. So I don't know if I think it's good for the proposals to be like easy to explain, and also to make them have like certain rationale behind, or certain proportion that we say, okay, numbers scale between this and this, and it's not like presented like in disorder, but somehow making it like harmonious. I think that. And also like simple things, even in this complex context, are always better to make simple things. And my other point was that if we're going to make 3 proposals, I think that we have to be very careful to not make the proposals like polarizingly different, because like we have been seeing that there has been like a lot of discussion around the distribution, and maybe if we make the proposals for polarizingly different, or like one's too much good for one people and one's all too much good for other people, we can cause a division. And rather than that, what we're trying to do is to find the common point that can benefit us all, and can benefit the backers and the builders, and that no one feels like excluded from the equation. So I think that those proposals should be caring, and should be not polarizingly different between each other. Yeah. And I pass to Suga.
Thank you, Juan. I'm really appreciating everybody's feedback. Yeah, in particular, what you just said about not polarizing. Also, regarding the MVV, and noticing that just in terms of vote count, there is a big jump, and this was probably already mentioned. Sorry, I was late. Excuse me. There's a big vote jump between the third and the fourth. And I don't know, maybe you already addressed that, but that seems relevant. I don't have a lot of insight on the data, but to that end, what Ivy and Tam were saying, and also Chu, I think that it would be really amazing to have some descriptions, and even, how did Ivy put it, scenarios, to be able to apply this, to see what it looks like when we get to the runoff, to be able to really make an educated decision for folks like me who don't know how to crunch the numbers. Let me look. I'm gonna pass it to, let's see what we've got here. Septi.
Thanks, Suga. Yeah, regarding the voting, it's quadratic voting, so it depends on the skin on the game. So if someone wants to vote themselves, I feel that's fair. Then for the proposals, on a normal stage, I would go with the three we have on the top. But regarding the issue, I really think the need of having one proposal that benefits the bakers, I really feel it's needed. Just in case like the people with GSTKs wants to vote for that, and that should be a thing. We don't want to exclude anyone. But yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I don't know how to add it, like it's without any controversial thing, because if you look at the chart, like there is, these proposals are not in a high spot, but I feel somehow we should add them, but I don't know how and when or, yeah. And I'll pass it to Mihai.
Thanks, Zepti. Just to reiterate what others have said, I think 5 is too much. 3 might be ideal, but at the end of presenting all of them, you should be able to at least remember what has been presented before without looking at the numbers. So maybe either 3 or 4, just because I would say for 4 because that's like very representative, and 3, the fourth one, it's not entirely seen in the other 3. Of diversity and having the good number for it, I'll say 3 or 4. So yeah, that's it from my side. I think centralized SDGs left, right?
Hi, thanks. I was just reflecting on this. I mean, one was I think just to think around lessons learned and having these type of details set out at the onset would always support. I mean, even having advertising this, I think would be a good contribution to quadratic voting and actually just sort of governance so that there's clarity at the onset. Main point, because I think I also had just wanted to throw out this idea, and not for this one, but just as sort of a general thought, was like how to have an objective criteria upon which, like an evaluation, you would have objective criteria upon which to rank them, which allows for this ease of understanding that people have mentioned. And I was thinking around like, how would you grade them from like token engineering? You'd have to already have set your metrics beforehand because everyone has an opinion. I think this would help consensus, as well as like I would think around Ostrom's principles, how well those would comply with Ostrom's principles, and sort of technical like optimization, that was I think mentioned on trying to find that consensus. I think people were saying like to make sure that all those various stakeholders coming at things from different perspectives will find that optimal like sweet spot. So those are just my main thoughts. But on this actual proposal, I mean, it's hard also to make a decision in a group. I mean, it's redundant to do another vote to see how to vote. I mean, but I was thinking more maybe using the math where those that would never become viable wouldn't even be considered, because then you can see with the math that it wouldn't have ever. So sort of having a mathematical or objective equation to make the decision would be most helpful. So I was trying to think around some ideas because, as I said, this wasn't so clear at the onset. Anyway, over.
Let's see. Does anyone else still need to go, or is that? Oh, Craig. Did you go?
Yeah, but I didn't say anything useful. No, I appreciate everyone's comments. I guess I don't have a strong feeling, I guess, about whether it's 3 or whether it's 5. I feel like maybe we're wrapped around the axle a little bit in voting to vote. And then just a general observation is I don't know if we can make an objective decision. And it seems that I'm hearing a lot of talk about discounting subjectivity, yet we are here trusting the people building this with their subjective choices. And so I would just generally caution against this ideal of ultimate objectivity, but also consensus. It's why we're voting. We're not going to get consensus. That's why there's a vote in place. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, I would argue that I would agree with you, Craig, on the like objectivity versus subjectivity. I think to get to the point where we have like objective ways of doing this, we just have to do it subjectively a few times and then be able to gather the data from there. And then with that data, now we can make objective decisions. But until, it's like we can't go too fast. And otherwise it'll just be it'll be like, oh, the data people will just get to decide. And part of what we want to do is in technocracy, right? And actually be a human-centered organization. So I do think that bringing human discernment into the mix is important. I really wish we could have 3. Like I also think 3 is like the right number. It's the easy thing to vote on. The challenge is that the top 3 are too similar in one important category, which is becoming a hot topic right now, which is the impact hour rate. And so, because I made these tables, and you can see so the first one, the top voted goes from 1 million. Is this right? Yeah, it goes from 26, 21, 15. This is 30, 22, 15. This is 43, 30, 18. So that's even higher than the other 2. So the first one is kind of the lowest. But then you can see at $1 million raise, this one is way lower. Number 4 is way lower than the other ones. I mean, relative to the difference. It's at 22, 19, 15. And then this one is 24, 20, 14. So there's if we include a 4th one or move one of these third ones to get one of these lower ones, it might be good. The other thing which is hard to look at from data was the Goldilocks idea got a lot of votes. And it's like that concept was very difficult to look at with the math, but basically, hey, what if we provide round numbers for people to see, right? Like in this making a marketing approach with the data, the parameter choices, so that because that if there was one fork that may have split some votes, or a lot of people probably voted for all the Goldilocks votes, it's that one. And now that I removed the names, I can't see them, but yeah, so there's Goldilocks v4, Goldilocks v2, the original Goldilocks, choosing Goldilocks. These guys had there's a nice cluster of them right here. And their concept was, hey, let's make it easily digestible, some of these outputs. And that's hard to include objectively. Also, is it something that we should put in to the final thing? Anyway, thoughts. We're at the top of the hour, and I'm sure everyone has other things to run off to. Thanks for letting me take over, guys.